Hey guys, Pauly Walnuts here. Super stoked to have you guys listening and watching. If you don't mind, take this time to like, subscribe, and share to the channel as well as the podcast if you are listening to Apple or Spotify and any major podcast platform. I'd be much appreciated. Now, I went up to Atlanta, Georgia a week ago to meet up and kick it with the founders and owners and the producers of Monatomic Music, the record label. I sat down with each, Ford and Vidal, and I sat down with both of them together. This video you're about to see is my one-on-one with Ford. Now, she is incredibly talented, multiple instrument playing musician, just an amazing producer. Multiple gold and platinum record award winning. She's worked with everybody from Michael Jackson to J.Lo to Jewel to the Nappy Roots to Vitas, the Russian opera singer and pop star. And the list goes on and on and on. She's also a published author. A book called Becoming God and has another one in the works. She practices Zen. But anyway, any more I'll give away the conversation. I know that I completely enjoyed my time up there talking with both of them, and I hope that you enjoy. This is my sit-down one-on-one with Ford of Monatomic Music. Enjoy.
It's Beyond the Pod.
You're listening to Beyond the Pod.
Yo, let's go.
You're listening to Beyond the Pod.
Hey guys, Pauly back with you. I've got an extremely talented musician, multiple gold and platinum record music producer, and a published author. My first published author on the show. Welcome to the show, Ford.
Thanks for having me, Paul.
Yeah, thanks for being on.
Yeah, awesome.
So we'll just start off where I like to start off with everybody. Tell us a little bit about your background. Where are you from?
Miami, Florida.
Miami, Florida.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, born and raised.
Nice. What brought you, when did you come up to Atlanta?
I moved to Atlanta when I was about 15.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah, it's awesome. I like it here. I really like Atlanta. I've been pretty much all over the world, and I like this city. It's just, it's not too big, it's not too small. It's just right, and the people are very cool here. People are very open-minded and
That's awesome.
sweet. You know, it's cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Southern
hospitality. Yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome. How old were you when you got into music? Like, when did you start playing the piano and stuff?
Yeah, I started playing. I got my first keyboard when I was about 13 years old. It was a little Casio keyboard. They sold it in Kmart.
Yeah.
Maybe had a little drum machine on it. And there wasn't any electronic music back then. I mean, the closest you had was Steve Miller Band. You know, that really wasn't anything.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So within a few years, then it was like Duran Duran and the New Order and all these Thomas Dolby, and suddenly there's all these keyboard bands were out, and I was like, I'm quitting drums. I'm just gonna do keyboards.
Yeah.
That's my thing. Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry. You might have said, how old were you?
Like 13, I got my first keyboard.
13. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So started young.
I played drums before that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Would you
yeah.
play like the drum sets or was it percussion?
The whole drum set.
Cool.
Yeah.
Your dad's a musician, right?
Yeah, he played guitar, so
Yeah.
I was pounding on the drum kit since I was like, I don't know, 5, 6 years old.
That's sick. Yeah, I bet that had him, stoked.
Yeah, sure.
So
sure.
it's always cool when your kids kind of follow in your steps a little bit.
Yeah.
What were your biggest influences?
I like the old rocks. That's what I grew up on.
Right.
You know? But really blew my mind was like, Depeche Mode and Duran Duran and New Order. Like, people don't understand when that music came on the scene, like New Wave. It was back then. It was called New Wave. It was mind blowing. It was as mind blowing as dubstep is today. It was just, you never heard anything like that in your whole life.
Yeah.
You know. So that was the most inspiring stuff. I was like, God, how are they doing that? You know, it was just.
And is that kind of like the birth of like techno?
I think so, yeah. That's when we first started really hearing keyboards being the prevalent
Yeah, the main focal point of attraction.
Exactly. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, we're going to we'll come back to talking more about music when we sit down with Vidal in a little bit. But first, I'd like to talk about your book. Becoming God. So tell us a little bit about it. What is the topic? What is the journey? If someone was to dive into this literature. Yeah,
it's a scary title on purpose, because if you're closed-minded to that title, you're never ever going to be open to that book. It's a incredibly blasphemous book, but it's also, if you're an atheist, it's going to lead you to a new awakening of spirituality. That includes Christ in a huge way, and that's scary to hear from an atheist point of view, because when I wrote the book, I was a hardcore atheist. In fact, I started the book because I loved to argue the debate, and at that time I had gotten really into quantum theory and quantum mechanics. When you're touring, there's not much to do except sit in a hotel room and read a book, and sit on an airplane and read a book. So, I devoured a lot of books. That was my escape, Mm-hmm. And so I was really, really solid in my atheistic beliefs. Really, really felt good about it.
I can relate to that.
To the point that I was going to write a book to show how this is what everyone thinks is God. This is how it works. This is the supreme consciousness of the holographic universe.
Right.
That was my intention going in. And as I started to look for symmetry, some sort of thing in religion to kind of back up the point, like I knew I would be able to find it. I found it. I found it in Buddhism. I found it in Hinduism. I found it in Christianity. I found it everywhere. Jewish Kabbalah. And it blew my mind. And so that's that, and about 200 hits of psychedelics will definitely take you over to the edge of seeing things in a different light.
Yeah, expand the consciousness.
Yeah.
What year did you write the book?
I wrote it in 2005. Is when I first published it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's got to seem like a scary undertaking, trying to get a book published. How did you come up with that? How are you like, what, I'm going to do this and I'm going to see it through?
It really wasn't like that at first. I was having parties all the time, and I was bored of the conversation. Everybody wanted to talk about music and blah, blah. You get so tired of that,
Yeah.
And I was really into this quantum philosophy, and I'm like, man, this is some mind. I would be up all night reading books, just like blowing my mind. And I want to have these conversations with people, and no one was having it.
Yeah.
So I knew a few smart people. I'm like, look, let me just write 50 pages of what this is, and then let's talk about it.
Right.
And as I was passing out this little 50-page thing, people were like, holy shit, you should make this a book. This is like awesome. And that would spark the conversation. And then from there, it was like, okay, I have 50 pages. Let me expand it to 200, and now we got something,
Yeah, that's awesome. What is as a layman, what is the process? Like, how did you had to get in touch with a publisher, obviously?
Man.
Was it expensive? Then you got to get an editor, I'm sure, and all of that stuff.
It's easier. It's much easier now. Back in 2005, online stuff was still really, really. There weren't even really ebooks yet. That was still a new thing,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, to undertake that was just incredible. I had to figure out how to get it into the Library of Congress, and then you had to get the ISBN number. And back then, it was just, I remember it costed us, I don't know, several $100s of just looking into what we had to, just to figure out what we had to do.
Yeah. I can't even imagine that undertaking and the stress that might come with it. On top of everything else you got going on in your life, it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Earlier, when we were talking, you mentioned you practice Zen.
Yes.
That's super interesting.
Yes.
So you're in a meditation. How often do you meditate?
Well, the thing about Zen is it's kind of a wakeful meditation.
Mm-hmm.
Where the thing about Zen is I practiced meditation for a long time.
Right.
And when I say meditation, everyone thinks it has to be so, I'm talking about smoke a blunt and just sit down by yourself and be alone and ask yourself some deeper questions that don't revolve around, what person's doing what on Facebook, Ask deep questions. Who am I? What the hell am I doing here? And what is the purpose?
Mm-hmm.
That's meditation. And the more I got into that, and then the more I was involving psychedelics, that's basically all I was doing for a long time was just tripping and getting high. I didn't have a job. It's just I make music, which I can kind of do high.
Oh yeah. Well, doing high, and yeah, of course,
But it just kept expanding into like philosophy and just sucking me in, and then eventually I had this experience called ego death. I didn't know it was called ego death when I had it. I thought I had lost my mind. I thought, okay, you definitely took too many psychedelics and it's done, you know. And I'm not talking about a bad trip. I mean, we've all had that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about getting to a place where there is nothing else.
Yeah.
And once you have that experience, it's like burned in your head forever. You can't unhave it.
Yeah.
You know. And now when I live, it's all I can see is that, and the preposterity of what we're living in.
Right.
You know, it's ridiculous. And then being able to see that and then act the part. Just go ahead and play the part and see where it goes, but not get caught up in the play. Right. That's really Zen. I mean, that's a layman's way of saying what Zen is, but it's just constantly being aware that this is an illusion. This whole thing is just a play, and just play your part.
Yeah, just that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've only in the past year got into meditation a little bit, and it's really helped me not react. You know, just sitting in kind of your head, and especially even if you are feeling a lot of emotions, it's kind of, you know, being someone that's bipolar, you know, reacting is something I do. You know, once the chemical imbalance comes, it's like I'm one end of the spectrum to the other. But being able to sit there calmly and peacefully and see my emotions and my feelings and understand where they're coming from without implementing a reaction physically, you know, into the world. It's definitely a very eye-opening and expanding experience, because for so long, you know, I was just like, things, you know, would be happening in the world around me, which I always felt was to me. And then it would, you know, invoke this reaction, which in 9 times out of 10, which is the hustle and bustle of our society, you know what I mean? I've always felt like it was a stressful kind of negative reaction, which would always make kind of, you know, a snowball for me. And meditating has really kind of helped me, you know, when those things happen and that those kind of, you know, I don't react. You know, I'm getting better at responding. Exactly. and being thoughtful about it. It's like, okay, and I understand where the root of this feeling is coming from, but it doesn't mean I have to unleash it into the world.
Yeah, that's it. That's enlightenment.
Yeah.
You know? The ability to respond.
Right.
Yeah. Which sounds, if you don't know what that is, it sounds, oh, I can do that. No, try.
Yeah.
It's pretty hard.
Very, yeah.
and even me, like, I've been practicing Zen for over a decade now, you know, and I'm by no means a Zen master. I mean, there are people who can really do this in a hardcore way, but just the way it's changed my life in so many ways, I can't even tell you. Like, just... But even me, I've done this for 10 years, and then over the weekend I was with my ex-girlfriend, and just, you know, we were good for a couple of days, and then she triggered me, and I'm like, man, you think you're such a Zen master, you know?
Yeah.
You know, all it takes is one girlfriend and a couple of drinks, and you're triggered, you know? So you have some work to do. You know?
Yeah, for sure. I can completely relate to that. Now, if, you know, this can be a little difficult question to answer,
you know,
but as a, you know, someone, you said that you were, you know, kind of a hardcore atheist. I was for a long time. I still, you know, identify very much as a man of science. But I have a connection and a relationship with a higher power now, and you know, tell us a little bit about, you know, how you kind of, what is your concept of God? Because I personally believe that, you know, everybody can kind of have a different relationship or concept of a higher power, God, you know, whatever, you know, connection you kind of have with the Great Spirit, if you will.
Absolutely.
So what would be, you know, if you can, explain to us a little bit of your, how you came to this and what your idea of God is.
You know, just to start by saying that just because I'm into spirituality now, it doesn't mean I've given up science. I mean,
of course,
there is a wonderful balancing place there. And to throw out either one, you know, is to
ridiculous.
throw out the baby with the bathwater.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing that you have to understand about science is that, and every single scientist on the planet will back me up on this, at the fundamental essence of everything that science is built on, if you really look at it, it's built on faith. It's built on just as much faith as every religion there is.
Yeah, yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we can take everything back to the Big Bang, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can take everything back to actually 10 to the minus 43 seconds of the Big Bang. That's how far we can look back. But at that point, all the math breaks down. Well, where does it break down into? Well, it breaks down into a torus field that nobody really knows where it's coming from. Is it coming from another universe? Is it coming from a black hole? Is it coming from consciousness? We don't know.
Right.
But it could just as equally be coming from consciousness as it is coming from a black hole or a universe. And to say that one has more weight than the other is really, who knows? It could be, we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know. So I come from a philosophy of, if you can recognize that, you can recognize that science itself is flawed because it's resting on an I don't know.
Yeah.
All of it is.
No,
all
it
of
is,
physics rests on an I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you let go of that. And that's not to say science is wrong. It's just we don't have to throw everything into science.
Right.
And so from that perspective, where is it coming from? Well, my belief is that it's coming from consciousness itself. That consciousness itself it's not my consciousness and your consciousness. It's just consciousness.
Right.
Right. So when I tap into my imagination, I'm tapping into the same place that you tap into when you imagine something. You know, it's the same realm, and that realm is eternal. That realm is transcendent of the material world. It's just pure intelligence.
Wow. Yeah.
And it goes on forever. When I mean forever, it's transcendent of time and space. So it goes on forever in every way that you can think about it.
Yeah, just infinitely. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, life is a dream. It's like a dream within a dream within a dream within a dream within a dream. And
Inception.
yeah. But it doesn't have to be scary. You know, I'm gonna be a holy roller here and quote Jesus for a second. But he says, seek until you find, and when you find, you will be disturbed. But from disturbance, you will marvel. And you will rule over all. So he's talking about coming to this realization that everything is mind, everything is mental. That this body, is just a mental construct of a dream within the divine Godhead, if whatever you want to call it. But it's the Godhead or the supreme intelligence working out the problem of choices through archetypes.
Wow.
And that's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, completely. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I appreciate your insight on that. Very, very interesting. So now I'm going to change topics slightly. And if you don't mind me asking, just with the state of just all of our current affairs, with our current president and everything, as a trans woman, what is your kind of perspective as the state of our nation and kind of our society right now? Because there's a whole lot of fear-mongering and misinformation and disinformation on social media that's getting one side upset and the other side upset. And I always like to kind of probe and see where everybody's at, kind of get the pulse of real America.
No, well, I can only speak for myself.
Correct.
And I have a very different position than most trans women and men have. I am completely sickened by the way that identity politics has taken over the LGBTQ, XYZ, whatever it is. There's a lot of letters now.
Yeah, a lot of letters now.
And that's a lot of letters are all different. Those are all identities, right? So it seems that what's happening is we're taking this beautiful thing called the Great Arcanum. It's a union of gender. It's I think it's just a natural process that not everyone's going to go through, but it's always been. There's always been beings that transcend gender itself and have a union of gender. And those were our shamans, and those were our oracles, and those were our priests, and those people were raised outside of society so they could observe society objectively. And they would come in and they would then give advice to the leaders if this is how you should make your decisions, because we're able to be removed from the whole thing and just watch you guys from a distance. And another thing with people who are experiencing this union of genders, we all have a very common experience of we see the big picture in things. There's a very complete picture that we see, So getting back to your immediate question, there's that component. And then you combine that with all of the political craziness that's going on with identity politics, and it's like it's like this. It's like the identity politics is trying to detract for everybody from the idea of what this is really about, which is really just having a different perspective for the culture. You know?
Yeah.
And, people get all crazy about Trump. I look at it this way. Like, the guy grew up and lived in Manhattan his whole entire life. Right?
Silver spoon.
Right. It does, but the thing is, if you've been to Manhattan, there's no way you can live in Manhattan and hate transgender people. I mean, it's like that's just life, So anything that he says that's any kind of that may seem insensitive. That's just how New Yorkers are. It's not meant in any kind of. It's just you razz people. That's just how it's a
little bit more brash up there.
A little more brash up there, and it's all love. I don't know any New Yorkers that would have a problem with a trans person. It's that common up there. It's like
But they bust your balls.
But they'll bust your balls about it in a loving way, and that's what keeps it real,
Yeah.
So and then you got all these trans people who are just getting all bent out of shape out of it, and that's just I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just not right.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not my biggest complaint about Trump is just kind of more or less just the way that he communicates and the manner. It always seems like uppity and pretentious and angry and this. Being a father is one thing that I've my oldest actually just from watching. This was leading up to the 2016 election, but she was like. Saw some, political propaganda commercials like, oh, Donald Trump's a Republican. He hates gay people. Well, my oldest mother, her mom is lesbian, and so her first thing that she came to me is like, I don't want Dee Dee to get in trouble, Dee Dee and Ruru and this and that. And then, other things, her coming to me, telling me about playground incidents of, kids basically, getting into a disagreement, and so it's like, oh, tell the brown kid, to get out of the country, and we're going to build a wall. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's that thing. It's like, man, I just miss, how eloquent Obama was sometimes. But Trump is definitely doing some good things.
Yeah, I wish
the economy's doing better. I just wish I wasn't so embarrassed every time he tweeted and opened his mouth.
But you know what? Here's the thing, and I'm not. Please don't take this as I'm, backing up Trump. I really don't. I don't give a shit about politics, but the whole system was broken, right?
Oh, it's been broken for a while.
And the only thing that was going to fix it is we had to hire a prick.
Yeah.
Right? We needed a prick to get in there and just get the job done, because only a prick who doesn't care what people think, doesn't care what the press thinks, is going to be able to get it done.
Yeah.
Everyone else is too busy kissing ass.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's one thing. Old Donald, he does not give a fuck.
Doesn't give a fuck. He's a prick in every sense of the word.
Yeah, no,
right?
for sure. Yeah.
But he's gonna get this shit done.
Yeah. I hear you. And a lot of people too. It's crazy, this whole build a wall thing. Like, this is the whole sheeple, and it's just immediately the clickbait and the believing a headline versus actually doing any research.
Right.
Because we started building this wall when Clinton was in office, and we started really, that's when it all started. It's just now been, his thing, his platform he was running on is, we need to finish this shit. There's areas where there's no wall, we need to get the wall up, but everybody's acting like, oh, it's Donald Trump, he's wanting to build a wall. It's like, started with Clinton, you know what I mean? Like, it's just both sides are fucked,
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, that's enough about some politics and some serious talk. I appreciate you sitting down with me for now, but we're going to take a short break, and then I'm going to sit down with both Ford and Vidal in a few minutes, so don't go anywhere, guys. Hey guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. I'd be super stoked and hella grateful if you could like this episode and subscribe to the channel and the podcast. Once again, thanks for listening and watching. I will catch you next episode. Peace, love, and skateboarding.